King Charles has said no, absolutely not. There is no route for Harry to embrace a half in, half out royal duty situation. As multiple outlets in the UK, from the Times of London to the Daily Mail, are all stating the same thing. The half in, half out scenario that Harry's team seems to be floating is just simply not the future of Harry's relationship with the family. But at the same time, there could be something brewing here. And I think the future Harry and Meghan choose here should be very indicative of how the royal family treats them. And we also have, let's say, growing rumblings of, let's say, tensions behind the scenes between Buckingham and Kensington Palace. So we are going to get into all of this today. But if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network before, my name is Brittany. I do provide compelling royal commentary. So please hit that subscribe button. I would absolutely love to have you back. And I do tours with some of our lovely followers here, and I am about to head out on one. So unfortunately, this means we're kind of rushing things somewhat in these next 2 days. So I hope you guys do appreciate this. But this is such an important story, and I thought that every outlet had a little bit of something else to bring to it, because Harry, I think, definitely does want his half in, half out thing. He came to the UK earlier this month, completely and utterly, I think, devoted and trying to show, and some of the publications do prove this, show that Harry can be an asset. Harry can help William because, there are some people within Buckingham Palace who think William and Catherine should be working a bit more. Now, that is a separate discussion, but it's sort of interesting to add in here as well. And Charles 100% wants reconciliation with Harry, but it doesn't seem like anybody on the royal roster themselves is all that interested in a return of Harry. But again, there's so much going on here. I think it's worth exploring sort of all the articles that are talking about this, because what I want to emphasize first off is that this was a massive, massive, massive move by Buckingham Palace. They wanted people to know, because there was so much speculation, which was being, let's say, pushed by Harry and Meghan's team. And it said, no, there is no half in, half out. Harry can do his weird pseudo royal tours things, which are just dumb because he's not royal. He doesn't have a real job. I don't know why he's doing any of this, because there is no route back for him. But there is a difference between, guys, personal and professional reconciliation. And I've always said I approve and support the idea of a personal reconciliation if that's what the two sides want and they can come to an agreement. Now, of course, Charles has to be careful that he doesn't allow Harry to get away with everything, because if he does, Harry's just going to do the same thing to him again. We've already seen this in the Guardian article that came out last week. Harry is completely and utterly willing to backstab his family in order to get ahead. But professional should be off the table. And I do want to preface this as well by saying that if Harry can't be half in, half out, he cannot be, let's say, full time as his real job as a royal, while Meghan still pursues commercial endeavors as well. This is both of them or none of them. That is how this should go forwards. And hopefully, I'll be able to remember to tell you guys a little bit of why I think that is. But let's go ahead and begin with the Daily Mail article, which I think was probably among the largest. And it says Prince Harry will never, all in caps, be allowed to return as a half in, half out working royal, and claims he could help ease William's workload were wide of the mark. And so basically that is, of course, the first paragraph of this thing, because people have to pad their articles. But insiders reacted angrily on Sunday night to briefings by sources apparently close to the Duke of Sussex that his recent meeting with King Charles at the end of what his team believes was a hugely successful charity trip to the UK. It was not. This is not a real job. This is job only royals have. Harry, get a real job. Just got to say that again. Signaled a thawing of their relationship and the acceptance of his family back into the royal fold. The same sources also suggest it could be the start of a new working model for the ex-royals. He has now apparently has plans to return to Britain 4 or 5 times a year for public events, both for his own charitable initiatives and potentially in support of the royal family. Referring to the briefings, however, a royal insider told the Daily Mail, whoever is behind them seems to have mistaken a brief tea and a slice of cake for the Treaty of Versailles. It's pretty strong words there. It is clear that there are also fears from some in Team Harry may be using this month's baby steps forward in the broken relationship between father and son to perhaps sinisterly drive a wedge between king and his elder son and heir. Charles needs to focus. I'm sorry. He can have whatever personal reconciliation with Harry that he wants to, but William is the future and Harry has made his choices. This was not something anybody forced on Harry. Harry made these decisions. And I also want to offer a thought here. Do you think Harry would be doing any of this if he had been successful in Hollywood? Truly, truly successful. If he had been successful, would he be doing this? In my personal opinion, the answer is no. Harry would not be doing this if he didn't fail out of Hollywood so incredibly badly. That's the thing. And this is why he's coming back, is because he did fail. They have repeated unsubstantiated claims that are tensions brewing between the King and Prince of Wales over apparent lightness of the workload. One royal insider said these syrupy briefings from supposed Sussex sources are precisely why the King and royal family are so hesitant to embark on any road of rapprochement. It also should be the Guardian article. My gosh, that was awful. If the intention was to encourage a rebuilding of trust and relationships, they served the precisely opposite effect. This is much like, again, Harry and Meghan making their demands on what they wanted out of Mexit without, kind of approving it with anybody. It's kind of dumb. As last week's state visit clearly demonstrated, the power and impact of the modern monarchy lies between the unshakable bond between the king and the Prince of Wales. And what is widely interpreted as a warning shot across the bows of those pushing the pro-Harry agenda, a well-placed royal source told the Daily Mail, the king is a forgiving man, but has been absolutely clear in upholding his late mother's decision that there cannot be a half in, half out members of the working family. Latest inflammatory remarks were made to the Mail on Sunday newspaper, which reported high-level talks are underway to gradually bring King Charles and Prince Harry together in a public show of unity for the first time in 6 years. And of course, Harry considers this all a positive step and really wants, again, he wants the validation from the royals. And I got to wonder, is this really a good idea? Like, if he's looking for validation from you, that should be sort of a red flag, in my opinion. The newspaper also said it had been told that Harry agreed to keep a low profile during President Trump's visit as a goodwill gesture to his father. Another claim that has been met with much rolling of eyes. And honestly, Harry can't overshadow that. It was huge. It was like massive, massive. And again, Harry and Meghan, when they get attention, it's cheap publicity stunts. And they do get some attention from that, but it's never positive attention. It just looks like you're attention seeking, like babies going, wow, wow, pay attention to me. He's even claimed that Harry is hopeful to reestablish a relationship with his brother, even though he admits some of his family members might find it difficult to forgive him. And I think his brother the most. So the same sources go as far as to suggest with fewer working royals left, there could be a need for other family members to step in and do the necessary bread and butter engagements. Oh, you think? So this all of a sudden occurred to you, after you left 5 years ago with, I think, great puffed up chests, excited about your future, hating on your family, making money off the backs of your family. Has it really been all that successful? I would argue no. Above all, they added, Harry wants to see his 76-year-old father more, make him proud, and be there to support him through his ongoing cancer treatment. Oh, you decided this a year in, you moron? Like, seriously? Seriously. They go on to say they suggest that Harry's desperation to rebuild a bridge he chose to burn down on leaving Britain is understandable, but owes more to hope than reality. Harry does not live in reality by any means. They're not ruled out occasional private family meetings like the one that took place earlier this month, describing them as possible, although it is understood that none of them are currently planned. But as for any kind of public role alongside the family, even as non-working royal, absolutely not. Their reaction makes it clear that Team Harry are overspinning was what was at its heart simply a generous and loving gesture by a father to meet, and in doing so, eroding any possibility of developing trust between those involved. And then, of course, this source close to Harry claims that he is very happy with his life in California, very happy just visiting the UK and when supporting his causes and charities. And a spokesperson also said the Duke has made it clear that the focus has to be on his dad. Beyond that, and any other issues as it relates to his family, we won't be commenting. Well, somebody's clearly commenting. Who is it? And then we also have this as well. And I like this. This is from the charity event Harry and Meghan did in Santa Barbara. He is genuinely shocked to see her there. He was not expecting her to, like, he's scared. Like, that's a scared, oh my gosh, type of thing. It's not like a bit they planned. So he did not necessarily want her there. So again, this is from the Telegraph. The king has made it absolutely clear that the Duke of Sussex cannot be a half in, half out member of the royal family. The Telegraph understands. And it says the monarch who met with his son earlier this month will continue to uphold the late queen's wishes that members of the royal family do not undertake official duties while also earning money. It is understood that the father and son may meet privately on occasional basis now that the duke appears to have drawn a line under his high profile public criticisms of the monarchy and now that his home office security hearing is over. But he will not rejoin the royal family. The king has made it absolutely clear in upholding his late mother's decision that there can be no in, half out. Royal commentators noted that while he wasn't working for the royal family in his latest trip, he did have met police protection for the Well Child Awards that was probably already there anyways and used his own protection for the rest. And then there's tentative talks to get together more over the next year. And this will be interesting. Should King Charles welcome Harry back into the fold? No, reconciliation is too high of risk. That is 80%. This is not a popular idea. That some people keep pushing this as if this is somehow everybody's on the same page is just a lie. So this goes on to say it was to remind William that Harry can be there to take some of the load off, given some of the criticism William had to receive for carrying out a lower number of engagements than his father. Yeah, because William really wants Harry there. And so we see the family approval ratings, Catherine at top, next to William, Princess Anne, King Charles, royal family as a whole, Edward, Camilla, Beatrice, Eugenie, Harry, Meghan, and then the Andrew. Though actually Fergie took a bigger hit today. That's another story we will get to. I'm not sure which one will come out first, to be quite honest. Statement said, we now plan to balance our time between the United Kingdom and North America. So this was when they left the royal family and they made demands. This is the thing. They didn't just walk out quietly. They made huge demands on people. So we also have the Times of London. King Charles makes it clear to Prince Harry cannot be half in, half out. And so this tells me that Buckingham Palace really wanted this to be out there. They wanted to make it clear. There is no half in, half out. Harry's done. It is what it is. And it goes on to say here, this is interesting. However, there appears to be no plan for Harry to rejoin the royal family's public appearances, nor any desire on the Duke's part to do so. I call lie there. I call foul. I don't think that's true. Why and then do the tour at all if you don't want to be part of the working royal fold again? That's like completely ridiculous. And then we also had the Invictus Games in 2027, which might be what Harry is actually angling for. So what can we glean from all of these reports? Well, number one, and most obviously, that Prince Harry is not welcome back in a public sort of way. He can have a personal, private relationship with people, but there is no desire to have a Duke of Sussex as a working royal again. There's no desire for that on the royal side. Now, Harry again, there's so much hypocrisy and like doublespeak from every time Harry and Meghan's PR team tries and attempts to run interference for them, because Harry might say, well, I don't really want to be a working royal. Then what were you doing 2 weeks ago? That looked an awful like being a working royal to me. And I think it's indicative of a Harry that is floundering. I don't think Harry would be doing this if he didn't face plant in Hollywood. Harry, who is, let's say, proud and, let's say, successful, doesn't need to do this sort of shtick. And he doesn't need to do it in a royal way either. Again, there's just such an obvious route to say, yes, we're no longer in the working fold. I can still support my charities, but I'm not working royal anymore. I'm fine. It's fine. Harry is constantly, we've heard this again so many times, constantly attempting to chase what he had in his previous life. He is not happy. You don't go back to your previous job if you're happy in your new one. Like, that should be Captain Obvious. I could go back to the job I worked before. Or maybe in a different role within the jobs I worked before, or a different company or whatever. But I'm happy doing what I'm doing now. Why would I go back? Except for maybe health insurance reasons. Sometimes that's tricky. Why would I go back and work for somebody else when I'm working for myself and I'm successful? That doesn't make any sense. The only reason it makes sense It's because Harry doesn't know what else to do. Harry doesn't know what he wants to be when he grows up. And he made a stupid, foolish decision to pursue Hollywood with Meghan Markle or to jump ship with her when maybe he really didn't know what her true agenda was. Got to the industry, find out they both suck at the job. She can't do it, he can't do it. And is now going, okay, yeah, remember that royal thing that I left that, I supposedly hated and stuff. Yeah, let's do that again. No. No, this should be such an easy no. Harry has to let it go, find a new job, find a new shtick, and figure out how to be without this because he left. Like, what? I just don't understand. I thought you were happy. I thought this was what you wanted. Then why are you trying to recreate it? Again, it's one thing for him to have a relationship with his father, it's one thing for him to have a relationship with his brother and pursue that. But you're trying to do this half in, half out thing. It's so obvious. That's why people were all commenting on it. That's why the royal family had to come back and say, no, that's not going to be what's happened because it looks like that's what you want. I don't believe the more they say Harry is happy in California with Meghan, the less I believe it. If you have to say it constantly, it's not real. When you're trying to, again, replace and redo exactly what you did and what you left as if nothing ever happened, that doesn't scream to me a guy who's comfortable in his success, but one who's terrified about the failures he's experienced. And then let's talk about the Meghan side of this because this message that was sent out here, well, Harry can't be half in, half out. What if he decides, well, I'm not going to do any of the commercial stuff anymore. I'm going to be all in. That kind of puts the royal family in a pickle. But the answer should clearly be, in my personal opinion, that if Harry is in, Meghan must be in too. You can't do it with one person who's a full-time working royal and one person who's pursuing their own agenda. Because unfortunately, the reality remains that when Harry is sitting, let's say, hypothetically, at a state dinner next to Tim Cook, who's the head of Apple, who was there, by the way, is he going to be representing the British monarchy or is he going to be representing Meghan Markle's interest in Mega Millions? That is the huge question. And I don't think, I'm so sorry, that Meghan has any intentions of coming back to the royal fold, although nobody really wants her back. But also, nobody really wants Harry. Nobody needs Harry. Now, I've always said that I think they need another working royal. I don't think, again, Catherine and William should be under any impression that their children will have, let's say, a slow entry into royal duties like they did. The children will have to start being working royals really quickly. Catherine Amalia of the Netherlands is in New York City right now with her mother at UN meetings. Catherine and William's kids should be doing that too when they're that age. She's in her very early 20s. She's like 21. I think she'll be 22 this year. Catherine and William do not have the luxury that they previously had in many ways, this very slow walk into royal duties. Their kids will need to be start working royals soon because we will have a slew of retirements. And the plan always was, which Charles, I think, to his discredit, has not adjusted, is that Harry and Meghan were always factored, or whoever Harry's wife would have been, were always factored into Charles' plans. And he didn't adjust after they left. And so, yeah, there is somewhat a void. I will 100% agree with that. But that void should be filled with somebody like Beatrice, although it's a little bit more complicated now with what happened to their parents today with Epstein again. Oh, the Yorks. Anyways, like they could be working royals. Harry can't. Harry fundamentally cannot. And it's not just that he pursued commercial endeavors. That's not the sticking point here. Is why is he wanting back? Does he need more content? Because as it turns out, both him and his wife suck at content production or creativity. Neither one of them are very creative. We've seen that endlessly at this point. They should make decision A and they always make decision F. So the two of them really do suck at their chosen career paths. And so when it comes to why Harry is suddenly coming back, I don't think, in my personal opinion, again, I don't think it's because Harry is happy in his role and that things are going super well for the two of them behind the scenes, no matter what Ted Sandros says in an interview, because Hollywood people lie through their teeth all the time. It's not going particularly well. Meghan's show flopped catastrophically last month. Major, major faceplant. They have not had a hit since Harry and Meghan, like a true mega hit since Harry and Meghan. That's it. They had one little bright spot with Meghan, but then that cratered utterly and completely in season 2, showing that there was no crossover with an audience. I actually have a friend who sort of liked the first season, and she's like, "Oh, what happened to the second season? I haven't watched it." Like, there was no desire to go back for more, really, or like no urgency to go back. So that totally failed on every single level, by every single metric. That show completely and utterly and catastrophically failed. Polo failed. Live to Lead failed. Heart of Invictus mega fail. That was really, really bad. So what does the future hold for Harry? I don't think he knows, and that's part of the problem. And I think he's constantly looking to the past. And Meghan has said this at least twice, or made it known to People magazine at least twice, that she was hoping that at some point her husband would let the past go. Well, I'm so sorry, Meghan. That generally doesn't happen. When you force your husband to make a decision he wouldn't have made himself, and made it seem like it was his idea, that he was protecting you. And then after a while, I don't think he believes it anymore. I don't think he believes the lie as much, or he has to tell himself lies, because otherwise there's just no foundation for him. He's floundering. He's a man without a purpose, a man without a plan, a man who has no idea what he wants to be when he becomes a big boy. And so the only thing he can do is run back to daddy. Number one, that's not really all that attractive. Number two, I doubt it's all that attractive for her. And number three, Harry needs to man up here. He made a decision. I would respect him so much more if he understood that he made a decision, maybe even acknowledge how much of a stupid decision that it was, and decided to forge his own path rather than trying to recreate a job. He like burned down the office as he left. That's the type of ex-employee Harry is. And Charles, if he wants a relationship, that is totally fine on a personal level. But it needs to be distinctly clear to Harry that there is no future in the British monarchy, that the appearances of Harry will be very brief. And also, what about Meghan? It's just clear as well that Meghan doesn't want any part of any of this. And how can you have a couple where he obviously wants to go back home and she has no desire whatsoever to engage with the UK at all? I mean, that's rife for conflict. That's just going to be an epic disaster. And again, a flashpoint for how the two of them, I think, are going in very different directions. And I have to say, and I hate to say it, but it's going to be somewhat true. But I don't think Meghan is going to enjoy all that much if she becomes truly the sole breadwinner and Harry just gives up on life and doing anything productive other than the job he left because she hated his family that much. This is doomed to failure. I'm glad Charles said no, and very publicly so. It needs to be said again and again. And I think, again, I would argue that royal titles should be stripped. Places of the line of succession should be stripped. Harry left. There should be consequences for that. And unfortunately, Harry just can't seem to deal with them. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of this video, and I shall speak to you again very soon. Bye.